Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're going to be talking about something a lot of you have been asking about. It's how to fall back in love with reading.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like that old friend that you haven't seen in ages.
Right.
You miss them, you should hang out more, but something always seems to get in the way.
Yeah.
So to help us with this, we're diving into some insights from booktuber Murphy Napier, and let me tell you her advice.
Oh, yeah.
Is anything but dusty old textbooks.
She really gets to the heart of it, you know?
Yeah.
She starts with that feeling of guilt that I think so many of us carry around about should reads.
Yeah.
And it's not enough to just be like, ditch them. She actually gives you a framework for figuring out why those books became burdens in the first place.
I love that it's so practical.
Yeah.
It's like instead of just feeling bad about not reading Moby Dick,
Yeah.
she helps you dig into what truly excites you about a story.
Exactly.
Was it epic adventures?
Yeah.
Intricate world building,
Right.
witty dialogue. And then she'd say, go find those elements in books that actually grab your attention.
It's about reconnecting with that intrinsic motivation,
Yeah.
that pure joy of discovery, you know?
Yes.
Think back to when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
The books that you loved, the ones you devoured without anyone making you.
Oh, yeah,
What was it about those books that captivated you?
totally.
Maybe it was the escape into fantasy worlds, or the thrill of a mystery, or the comfort of relatable characters.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those core interests
Yeah.
stay with us, even if our reading habits have kind of fallen by the wayside.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we bridge that gap
Okay.
from knowing what we like to actually picking up a book and doing?
So Napier has this really clever concept called reverse adaptation.
Ooh, I like that.
And instead of reading the book and then maybe seeing the movie, if it's adapted into a film,
Right.
she flips the script.
Okay.
Start with the movie, you adore something that totally captivated you,
Okay.
and then pick up the book.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My first thought was, why bother if I've already seen the movie?
Right.
But the way she explains it, it's like having a cheat code. You already know the basic plot, the characters, the world, and it takes away that initial intimidation factor,
Right.
especially if you're tackling a longer, more complex book.
And it kind of levels the playing field
Yeah,
when you think
good
about
page
it.
drops.
Like imagine comparing The Count of Monte Cristo,
Oh my God.
which is this massive sprawling tale,
Dude.
with something like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay, yeah.
Much quicker, wittier read.
Right.
Both fantastic.
Yeah,
But, starting with a more familiar story can be a huge confidence boost.
I can see that.
And plus, it lets you see how different mediums tackle the same narrative.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
I actually did this with Fight Club back in the day.
Oh, nice.
Loved the movie. And so I dove into the book.
Yeah.
And it was wild to see how the author, Chuck Palahniuk, used language to create this unsettling, almost claustrophobic atmosphere.
Interesting.
It wasn't something that you would necessarily pick up on just from the visuals alone.
And that's where I think you can get really technical with your reading,
Ooh, okay.
which I know appeals to our learner types out there.
Yeah.
Like, think about applying a film analysis lens to the book.
Okay.
So you notice how the movie uses lighting, camera angles, music
Right.
to build suspense. But how does the book achieve that same effect purely through words?
Whoa.
It's a whole new level of appreciation.
Mind blown. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we've picked a book, we're feeling motivated,
Okay.
but what about the actual act of reading?
Yeah.
I know Napier has some pretty strong opinions on format.
She does. She calls it format freedom.
Okay.
Because I think so many people get hung up on what the right way to read.
Yeah.
And she's like, throw those rules out the window.
Okay.
Embrace physical books, audiobooks, ebooks, whatever works for you.
That's where I struggle. I love the feel of a physical book, that weight in your hands.
Yeah.
The smell of the pages.
Right.
Audiobooks make my commute so much more bearable.
Sure.
And ebooks let me read late at night without keeping my partner awake with a lamp.
It's about removing those mental barriers that make us think, oh, I'm not a real reader unless I do X.
Yeah.
It's about choice and how that plays into habit formation.
Okay.
Having options makes reading fit your life,
Right.
not the other way around.
And here's where I think Napier drops some serious wisdom,
Okay.
especially for our budget-conscious listeners. The library.
Yeah.
She talks about how the library eliminates that sunk cost feeling.
Right.
You're not stuck with a book that you bought
Yes.
that you don't love.
Exactly.
You try anything guilt-free.
It's brilliant, right?
Yes.
It aligns perfectly with that desire for efficiency and avoiding feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Plus, just think about the sheer variety you'll find at a library.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's a treasure trove of unexpected discoveries, often for free.
Okay, so we've chosen our book, we've got our format, we're ready to dive in.
Right.
But how do we actually make time for reading?
Right.
Life gets so busy.
This is where Napier's habit anchoring comes in.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this is a game changer.
Right.
It's not just about saying, well, I'll read more.
Right.
It's about strategically linking reading to an existing habit you already have.
So like if I always have a cup of tea before bed, I could make that my reading time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you're a morning coffee person, those first few sips become your reading cue.
I like that.
It taps into the science of habit stacking. By attaching the new behavior to something you already do automatically,
Right.
it becomes so much easier to stick with.
There's this one detail she shares that really stuck with me.
Okay.
She was noticing that blue light from screens was messing with her sleep.
Yeah.
So she implemented this rule, no screens 30 minutes before bed.
Interesting.
And that time became her dedicated reading time.
I love that. It combines a healthy sleep habit with reading.
Yeah,
And plus, for a lot of us, that pre-sleep wind down is already part of our routine.
totally.
It's about those small, consistent changes that over time become second nature.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm definitely trying that tonight.
Yeah.
Now, Napier is clearly passionate about solitary reading, but she also emphasizes the social aspect too, right?
Absolutely. She's a huge advocate for finding your reading tribe.
Okay.
Whether that's through online communities, book clubs, or even just chatting with friends about what you're reading.
Yeah.
It taps into our human need for connection-making reading more than just a solo activity.
I can totally relate to that. I found some amazing online book communities, especially on Discord.
Oh, cool.
It's incredible to connect with people who share your love for a specific genre or author.
Right.
It's like having a built-in support system cheering you on in your reading journey.
It's that sense of belonging that can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Imagine discussing a book's plot twist with someone who gets just as excited as you do. Oh my God, yes. Or getting recommendations tailored to your very specific tastes.
Totally.
It turns reading into this shared experience, which is something we humans crave.
So we've gone from ditching the guilt to finding a reading style to building habits and even connecting with other readers. It feels like we've covered so much ground already.
We have, and it's all about setting you up for success and rediscovering your love for reading.
I love it.
But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We've talked about all the personal benefits, but what about reading as a tool for bridging divides?
Ooh, that's a juicy thought.
Yeah.
We often think about reading for ourselves,
Right.
but the idea of it connecting us to people with completely different viewpoints,
Yeah.
that's a whole other level.
Exactly. We'll delve into that in part 2 of this deep dive, exploring how reading can help us understand.
Okay.
Those who think differently even challenge our own deeply held beliefs.
Yeah.
It's a conversation you won't want to miss.
All right, so we're back. And I'm still buzzing about that idea we left off with. Reading as a way to connect with people who see the world totally differently than we do.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It's almost counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Like we usually read to escape into worlds that we enjoy, not necessarily worlds that make us uncomfortable.
We often think of reading as the solitary introspective act.
Yeah.
But it has this incredible power to bridge divides,
Okay.
to foster empathy and understanding
Right.
in a way that I think few other activities can.
It's like we're so used to getting our information in these bite-sized pieces,
Right.
often filtered through algorithms that just confirm our existing biases.
Yeah.
But a book forces you to sit with an idea, to wrestle with the perspective.
For sure.
For hours, days, even weeks.
It's a slow burn, but that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
It's like that quote by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Okay.
The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is not that they're untrue, but that they're incomplete.
Ooh, I love that quote.
Reading exposes us to those multiple stories, the complexities, the nuances that get lost in those quick sound bites.
And it makes me think about how often we reduce entire groups of people to a single narrative.
Right.
To a single experience.
Yeah.
But reading, especially reading fiction, allows us to step into someone else's shoes,
It does.
to experience the world through their eyes.
It's like cognitive travel.
Yeah.
You're not physically going anywhere,
Yeah.
but through the power of language, you're exploring the mental and emotional landscape of another human being.
Right.
And that can be so powerful, even transformative.
Okay, so I'm convinced reading can build bridges.
Okay.
But how W?
That's the question.
Where do we even start?
Right?
There are so many books out there.
You're absolutely right. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that's where I think a bit of intentionality comes in.
Okay.
Start by diversifying your reading list. Seek out books by authors whose backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives are different from your own.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's be real.
Yeah,
It's easier said than done.
it is.
Any practical tips for actually finding those books?
Sure.
Because just browsing the new releases at the bookstore doesn't always cut it.
You're right. It takes a bit more effort. But luckily, we live in a time where resources abound.
Okay.
Your local library, for starters, is a goldmine.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to a librarian, tell them what you're looking for. They can point you in the right direction.
I love that, using a human resource instead of just an algorithm.
Totally.
Okay. And beyond the library.
Tons of online resources, too.
Okay.
Websites, organizations dedicated to promoting diverse voices in literature. Look for curated reading lists, follow book bloggers who focus on specific genres or identities.
Okay.
You can even join online book clubs that center around authors from underrepresented communities.
Right.
The key is to be proactive.
Proactive and open-minded, right?
Absolutely.
Because I think sometimes we self-select into echo chambers, even with our reading choices.
Stepping outside your comfort zone is crucial.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to read something that might initially feel unfamiliar or even a bit uncomfortable.
Okay.
You might be surprised by the books that resonate with you, the stories that stay with you long after you've turned that final page.
So we've got our diverse reading list. We're ready to engage.
Okay.
But it's not just about passively consuming words, right?
No, it's not.
How do we actually read these books in a way that truly helps us bridge divide?
It's about active critical reading, engaging with the text, asking yourself questions.
Okay.
And yes, even feeling a little bit uncomfortable at times.
Okay, give me an example.
Right.
What kind of questions should I be asking myself as I'm reading?
Well, for starters, consider the author's background and how that might shape their perspective.
Okay.
What assumptions are they making? What experiences inform their writing? Are there any potential biases you should be aware of?
And how do those biases, or even my own WN biases, affect my interpretation of the book?
That's exactly it. It's about recognizing that our own perspectives are limited.
Yeah.
And that engaging with different viewpoints,
Right.
even those we might initially disagree with, can broaden our understanding of the world.
Okay.
It's about embracing nuanced complexity and, yes, even a little bit of cognitive dissonance.
So we're being critical readers, challenging our assumptions.
Yes.
But it's not just about finding flaws or picking apart arguments, right?
No, it's not.
It's also about finding common ground, recognizing the shared humanity that connects us even across differences.
You're absolutely right. It's not about winning an argument
Right.
or proving someone wrong. It's about understanding where they're coming from.
Yeah.
What experiences have shaped their worldview. And sometimes in that process, you discover that you have more in common than you initially thought.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how reading can cultivate empathy.
Yes.
That ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, even if their life experiences are vastly different from our own.
Empathy is such a crucial ingredient for bridging divides.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, regardless of their background, beliefs, or experiences.
Okay, so we're reading actively, critically, empathetically.
Yes.
But it's not just a solo mission.
It's not.
Talking about what we're reading, sharing our thoughts and reactions with others can also play a huge role in bridging divides.
Absolutely. It's about taking those internal reflections and turning them into external dialogues.
Okay.
Discussing a book with someone who holds a different viewpoint can be incredibly illuminating.
It's like suddenly you're not just arguing abstract ideas. You're
Right.
talking about specific characters, plot points, emotional moments that you both experience through the book.
Exactly.
It creates a shared language, a common ground
Yeah.
that can make it easier to navigate those tricky conversations.
Those conversations don't have to be formal debates.
Right.
They can be casual chats with friends, family members, colleagues. Even something as simple as mentioning a book you're reading over dinner can spark a fascinating conversation.
All this talk about bridging divides through reading makes me wonder, what are some specific examples of books that have done this effectively?
Ooh, that's a great question.
You know, books that have sparked important conversations or shifted perspectives.
There are so many examples to choose from.
Oh, yeah.
But one that immediately comes to mind is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson.
Okay.
It's a memoir that tells the story of his work as a lawyer representing death row inmates.
Wow.
And it really shines a light on the injustices within the criminal justice system.
That sounds intense.
It's a book that sparked countless conversations and inspired many readers to become more more involved in social justice issues.
I haven't read that one yet, but it's definitely going on my list.
Yeah.
It sounds incredibly powerful.
It is.
And it speaks to that idea of reading as a way to understand systemic issues, not just individual experiences.
Exactly. And it challenges readers to confront their own biases and preconceptions.
Yeah.
About crime and punishment, about race and class,
Whoa.
about the very fabric of our society.
Another book that comes to mind, one that really challenged my own perspectives, is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Ooh, powerful one.
It's a deeply personal and moving letter to his son about the realities of being Black in America.
Yeah.
It's a book that stayed with me long after I finished reading it.
It's a heavy one.
And it's definitely sparked some intense conversations
Well, I bet.
with friends and family members.
And it highlights the importance of reading books by authors from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and experiences.
Yes.
It's about seeking out voices that are often marginalized or silenced and allowing those voices to challenge our own understanding of the world.
And it's not just about reading books that explicitly address social or political issues.
No, it's not.
Even fictional stories can play a powerful role in expanding our understanding of different cultures, experiences, and perspectives.
Like a novel like The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini
Okay.
can transport readers to another country and culture, offering insights into the lives and struggles of people living in a very different part of the world.
Right.
And a book like The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood,
Yes.
while set in a dystopian future,
Yeah.
can provoke discussions about gender roles, power dynamics,
Right.
and the dangers of totalitarian regimes.
Those kinds of stories can help us develop empathy and understanding
Yes.
for those who might seem different from us. And that empathy can be such a powerful force for change.
It's about recognizing that stories have the power to connect us to bridge divides and to create a more just and compassionate world.
So we talked about the importance of diversifying our reading list, engaging with texts critically,
Yes.
and exploring books that challenge our perspectives.
Right.
What else can we do to actively use reading as a tool for bridging divides?
I think it's essential to go beyond the act of reading itself and engage in conversations about what we've read.
You mean like discussing books with friends, family, or colleagues?
Exactly. Sharing our thoughts and reactions with others
Okay.
can deepen our understanding of the text and open up new perspectives.
It's like having a built-in book club, but with people you already know and trust.
And it doesn't have to be formal or structured. You could simply mention a book you're reading over dinner.
Right.
Or share a thought-provoking passage on social media.
And if you're looking for more structured discussions, there are always book clubs, online forums,
Yeah.
even author events where you can connect with other readers.
These kinds of conversations can help us bridge divides
Yeah.
by fostering a sense of shared understanding and respect.
And they can also challenge us to articulate our own beliefs and values in a thoughtful and nuanced way.
So if we want to use reading as a tool for bridging divides, we need to be willing to go beyond the solitary act of reading and engage in meaningful conversations about what we've learned.
And that's where the real magic happens.
It is.
When we share our perspectives, listen to others, and engage in respectful dialogue, we create the conditions for empathy, understanding, and ultimately positive change.
Reading can be a powerful catalyst for all of those things.
Well said. Now we know that reading can help us connect with people who hold different viewpoints.
Right.
But what about the potential for reading to strengthen bonds within existing communities?
That's another fascinating aspect to consider.
Yeah.
Think about the shared experience of reading the same book as someone else, especially if it's a book that resonates deeply with both of you.
It creates a common ground, a shared language.
Absolutely.
That can deepen your connection.
And it can spark conversations that might not have happened otherwise.
You know, it reminds me of my childhood.
Oh, yeah.
My mom and I used to read the Little House on the Prairie books together. We'd spend hours talking about the characters, the challenges they faced, and how their experiences resonated with our own lives.
It's amazing how those shared reading experiences can create such powerful memories and strengthen bonds.
They do, and it's not just limited to childhood.
Right.
I still have friends with whom I regularly share book recommendations and discuss what we're reading.
It's a way of staying connected even when you're physically apart.
And it can also introduce you to new perspectives within your own community.
You're right. Even among people you know, well, there's always more to learn and discover.
So whether it's sharing a beloved childhood book with your children or discussing a thought-provoking novel with a friend, reading can play a vital role in strengthening the bonds that connect us.
It's a reminder that reading is not just a solitary pursuit, but a social one as well.
And that social aspect can be incredibly rewarding.
Well, we've explored the individual and societal benefits of reading.
We have.
But there's another dimension to this conversation that I find particularly intriguing. Okay.
The impact of reading on our brains.
Ah, yes, the neuroscience of reading.
Yes.
That's a topic that could fill an entire deep dive on its own.
Absolutely. But even a brief glimpse into the research can reveal some fascinating insights
Okay, I'm ready.
into how reading shapes our minds.
So what's happening inside our brains when we read?
Well, for starters, reading involves multiple brain regions.
Okay.
Working together in a complex and dynamic way.
It's like a full-body workout for the brain.
Exactly. And the more we read, the stronger those neural connections become.
It's like building mental muscle.
But it's not just about strengthening existing connections.
Right.
Reading can also stimulate the growth of new brain cells.
What?
Studies have shown that reading can increase gray matter volume in areas of the brain associated with language processing memory and even empathy.
So reading can literally make us smarter and more compassionate.
It's not quite that simple, of course.
Okay.
But the research does suggest that reading has a profound impact.
On our cognitive abilities and emotional intelligence.
It's like a superfood for the mind.
And it's not just about reading challenging or academic texts.
Okay.
Even reading for pleasure can have significant benefits.
That's good news for all of us who love to escape into a good novel.
But how exactly does reading fiction affect our brains differently from, say, reading nonfiction?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Research suggests that reading fiction can enhance our ability to understand and empathize with others.
It's like stepping into someone else's shoes
Exactly.
and experiencing the world through their eyes.
And that ability to understand and connect with others is so essential for building strong relationships, navigating social situations, and even resolving conflict.
So reading fiction can make us better people.
It might.
I like the sound of that.
But how does it actually work?
Yeah.
Well, one theory is that when we read fiction, we engage in a process called theory of mind.
Okay.
Which is the ability to understand that other people have thought, feelings, and beliefs that are different from our own.
It's like we're training our brains to see the world from multiple perspectives.
Precisely. And the more we practice that skill through reading, the better we become at it in real life.
So next time someone tells me I'm spending too much time reading novels, I can tell them I'm actually working on my social skills.
You certainly can, and you can back it up with science.
Now, we've talked about how reading can boost our empathy and social skills, but what about its impact on our mental health and well-being?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about reading as a form of stress relief and self-care.
Sure.
But is there any scientific evidence to support those claims?
Absolutely. Numerous studies have shown that reading can reduce stress,
Okay.
lower heart rate, and even improve sleep quality.
So it's not just a fun pastime, it's actually good for our health.
That's right. And it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Reading can provide a much-needed escape from the stresses of daily life,
Right.
allowing us to immerse ourselves in different worlds and forget about our worries for a while.
It's like a mini vacation for the mind.
Exactly. And that mental break can be incredibly restorative.
But it's not just about escapism.
No, it's not.
Reading can also provide comfort, inspiration, and even a sense of purpose.
Absolutely. Books can offer us different perspectives on life's challenges, introduce us to inspiring role models, and even help us connect with our own values and beliefs.
It's like having a wise and supportive friend to turn to
Yeah.
whenever you need guidance or encouragement.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it highlights the powerful role that reading can play in supporting our mental and emotional well-being.
So whether you're looking to reduce stress, improve sleep, or simply find comfort and inspiration, picking up a good book can be an incredibly effective form of self-care.
Well said. And it's a form of self-care that's accessible to almost everyone.
You know, we've talked about all these incredible benefits of reading.
They have.
Boosting our brain power, improving our social skills, enhancing our mental well-being. But I think it's important to acknowledge that reading can be challenging for some people.
You're absolutely right. For some, reading can feel like a chore.
Yeah.
A source of frustration rather than enjoyment.
And for others, reading difficulties like dyslexia can make it a truly daunting task.
It's crucial to recognize and address these challenges,
Yeah.
rather than dismissing them or making people feel ashamed.
Absolutely. So what can we do to support those who struggle with reading?
Well, first and foremost, we need to create a culture of understanding and acceptance.
It's about recognizing that reading difficulties are not a sign of laziness or a lack of intelligence.
Exactly. They're often the result of neurological differences
Right.
that need to be addressed with appropriate support and resources.
And there are so many resources available now
There are.
to help people with reading difficulties, from specialized tutoring programs to assistive technologies.
That's right. And it's important to make those resources widely accessible and affordable.
And for those who simply find reading to be a chore,
Yeah.
what advice would you give?
I would say don't give up. up. There are so many different types of books out there, and there's bound to be something that sparks your interest.
Maybe it's a graphic novel,
yeah,
a collection of short stories, or even a cookbook.
Exactly. The key is to find something that makes you want to keep turning the pages.
And don't be afraid to experiment with different formats.
Right.
Like audiobooks or ebooks.
That's a great point. Sometimes simply changing the way you consume content can make all the difference.
And remember, reading should be enjoyable.
Yes.
Don't pressure yourself to read something you're not enjoying.
It's better to put down a book you're not connecting with and find something that truly sparks your interest.
So even if you've struggled with reading in the past, don't give up on its potential to enrich your life.
There's a whole world of knowledge, adventure, and inspiration waiting to be discovered between the pages of a book.
Well said. And speaking of discovering new worlds,
yes,
let's shift gears and explore the fascinating realm of children's literature.
Ah, yes. The gateway to a lifelong love of reading.
Exactly. Children's books hold a special place in our hearts for a reason.
They introduce us to the magic of storytelling, spark our imaginations, and teach us valuable life lessons.
And they often stay with us long after we've grown up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can still vividly recall the illustrations and characters from my favorite childhood books.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how those early reading experiences can shape our perspectives and values.
Children's books can introduce us to different cultures, teach us about empathy and compassion, and even help us understand complex social issues.
And they do it all in a way that's engaging, accessible, and often downright hilarious.
That's the beauty of children's literature.
Right.
It can tackle serious topics with a lightness and playfulness that makes them easier to digest.
And it's not just about the content.
Right.
The illustrations in children's books can be incredibly powerful as well.
Absolutely. They can bring stories to life, evoke emotions, and even spark conversation.
I remember spending hours poring over the intricate illustrations in books like Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, yeah.
And The Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Those images can stay with you for a lifetime.
They do.
And they can also help children develop their visual literacy skills.
That's so important.
It is.
Visual literacy is becoming increasingly crucial in our image-saturated world.
It is. And children's books can play a vital role in helping children develop those skills.
So whether you're a parent educator or simply someone who loves children's books, remember the profound impact they can have on young minds.
They're not just entertainment, they're an investment in a child's future.
Well said. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the individual benefits of reading to its potential to bridge divides and shape society.
We've explored the neuroscience of reading,
the
power of children's literature, and even the challenges that some people face when it comes to reading.
It's been quite a journey. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more aspect of reading that I find particularly fascinating.
Okay.
Its role in shaping our identities.
Ah, yes. The books we read can become part of who we are.
Exactly. They can shape our beliefs, values, and even our sense of self.
Think about the characters we connect with, the stories that resonate with us, and the ideas that challenge our perspectives.
They all leave their mark on us in some way.
They do, and over time, those influences can accumulate,
right,
shaping our understanding of the world and our place within it.
It's like we're building a personal library of experiences, insights, and perspectives.
That's a beautiful analogy. And it highlights the power of reading to shape not only our minds, but also our hearts and souls.
You know, it makes me think about the books that have had the most profound impact on my life.
Which ones come to mind?
Well, one that immediately springs to mind is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
Classic.
I read it for the first time in middle school, and it completely blew my mind.
It's a classic for a reason. What was it about that book that resonated so deeply with you?
I think it was the themes of justice, empathy, and standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult.
Those are powerful themes, especially for a young person.
They were, and Atticus Finch became a sort of moral compass for me.
Yeah.
A role model for how I wanted to live my life.
It's amazing how fictional characters can have such a profound impact on us.
They can. And it's not just about fictional characters. I've also been deeply moved by memoirs and biographies of people who've overcome incredible challenges and made a difference in the world.
Those kinds of stories can be incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
They remind us that we all have the potential to make a positive impact.
And they can also provide comfort and hope during difficult times.
Absolutely. Sometimes simply knowing that others have faced similar struggles can make our own challenges feel less daunting.
So whether it's a classic novel, a thought-provoking memoir, or even a lighthearted romance, the books we read can become part of who we are.
They can shape our values, inspire our actions, and even help us find meaning and purpose in our lives.
Well said. And it's a reminder that reading is not just a pastime. It's a journey of self-discovery.
It's a journey that can lead us to new worlds, new ideas, and even new versions of ourselves.
And that journey can be incredibly rewarding.
It can.
But it's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not.
Sometimes we hit roadblocks along the way.
We do.
We might struggle to find the time to read,
Yeah.
get bogged down in a book that's not holding our attention,
Right.
or simply feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of books out there.
It's like staring at a vast library with no idea where to begin.
Exactly. And that feeling of overwhelm can be paralyzing.
So what advice would you give to those who are feeling lost in the literary wilderness?
I like that. Lost in the literary wilderness.
I would say don't be afraid to ask for help.
Okay.
There are so many resources available to guide you on your reading journey.
Like what kinds of resources?
Well, for starters, there are librarians. They're walking encyclopedias of book knowledge
They are.
and can offer personalized recommendations based on your interests.
It's like having a personal book concierge.
And if you're not sure where your local library is, you can always find one online.
Right.
Most libraries have websites where you can browse their catalogs, place holds on books, and even access digital resources like ebooks and audiobooks.
And beyond libraries, there are countless online communities.
Yes.
Book blogs and even social media groups dedicated to sharing book recommendations and reviews.
It's like having a global network of book lovers at your fingertips.
And don't underestimate the power of word-of-mouth recommendation
Oh, yeah.
from friends, family, and colleagues.
Sometimes the best book suggestions come from the people who know us best.
So even if you're feeling lost, remember that you're not alone.
You're not.
There are people and resources out there to help you find your way back to the joy of reading.
And that joy is worth seeking out.
Absolute. Reading can enrich our lives in countless ways, from expanding our knowledge and understanding to providing comfort, inspiration, and even a sense of belonging.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Well said, but as with any gift, it's up to us to unwrap it
Yeah.
and discover its treasures.
And that discovery can be a lifelong adventure.
Speaking of adventures, let's talk about one of the most exciting aspects of reading,
Okay.
the power of imagination.
Yes. The ability to create worlds within our minds.
It's a superpower that we all possess,
We do.
and reading can unlock its full potential.
When we read, we're not just passively absorbing information.
Right.
We're actively constructing mental images, creating soundscapes, and even experiencing emotions through the characters and stories.
It's like we're co-creating the world of the book along with the author.
Exactly. And that level of engagement can be incredibly immersive and rewarding.
It's why we can get so lost in a good book that we lose track of time and forget about the world around us.
It's a form of escapism, but it's also so much more than that. It's a way of expanding our understanding of the world, exploring different perspectives, and even challenging our own beliefs and assumptions.
And it all starts with the spark of imagination.
And that spark can be ignited by something as simple as a well-crafted sentence, a vivid description, or a compelling character.
It's amazing how much power words can hold.
They can, and that power can be used to transport us to different worlds, introduce us to new ideas, and even change the way we see ourselves and the world around us.
So the next time you pick up a book,
Yeah.
take a moment to appreciate the magic of imagination that's unfolding within your mind.
It's a gift that we often take for granted,
Yeah.
but it's one that can enrich our lives in countless ways.
Well said. Now, we've talked about the individual benefits of reading for imagination and empathy, but let's zoom out a bit and consider its impact on society as a whole.
Okay.
How does reading shape the world around us?
Well, for starters, a literate society is an informed society.
People who read are more likely to be engaged citizens,
Right.
aware of current events and able to critically evaluate information.
Exactly. And that informed citizenry is essential for a functioning democracy.
It's about being able to make informed decisions,
Yes.
hold leaders accountable, and contribute to the well-being of our communities.
And beyond civic engagement, reading can also foster innovation, creativity, and economic growth.
How so?
Well, think about all the scientific discoveries, technological advancements, and artistic masterpieces that have been inspired by books.
It's true. Books can spark new ideas, challenge conventional thinking.
Yeah.
And open up new. It's funny, as we're wrapping up this deep dive into reading that last point about it being a journey, really stuck with me. It's not like a destination. It's not about just ticking boxes on a books I've read list.
Right.
It's really about the ongoing exploration and how it shapes us over time.
It is. It's like that personal library analogy we talked about earlier, that each book kind of adding another layer to our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
And that library is never finished, is it?
It's not.
There are always new genres to discover, new authors whose voices we haven't heard yet.
Right.
New ideas that challenge our thinking.
Which is both exciting and daunting, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
I mean, we've talked about the sheer volume of books out there.
It's true.
It's a too many choices problem.
It is.
And it can be paralyzing even for seasoned readers.
Totally. I catch myself doing that sometimes.
Yeah.
Scrolling through endless recommendation lists and getting analysis paralysis.
Right.
Instead of actually reading anything.
Yeah.
It's like, we need a roadmap for this journey, some signposts along the way.
And luckily, we have a few.
Okay.
We've talked about librarians.
Yes.
Those amazing human resources just waiting to be tapped.
They are amazing.
But let's not forget the power of community, both online and offline.
Yeah.
Finding your reading tribe can make all the difference.
It's like having a bunch of fellow travelers on this journey.
It is!
People to swap stories with,
yeah,
get recommendations from, to geek out with over that mind-blowing plot twist.
Exactly. Think about it this way.
Okay.
Say you're hiking through a new landscape.
Okay, yeah.
You could go it alone.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be more fun?
Oh, for sure.
More enriching to have a group to share the experience with?
Definitely.
To point out things you might have missed,
right,
help you navigate tricky terrain, and to celebrate reaching the summit together.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So whether it's a local book club, an online forum dedicated to your favorite genre,
right,
or even just a friend who shares your taste in books, finding that community can make the reading journey so much more fulfilling.
It's that sense of belonging, of shared passion, that can really reignite our love for reading.
Totally.
And let's be honest, sometimes we need that external motivation, that nudge from our peers to keep us going.
Especially in a world that's constantly vying for our attention. It's so easy to get sucked into the endless scroll of social media, to prioritize those quick hits of information over the deeper engagement that a book demands.
So it's about being intentional about carving out dedicated time for reading.
Right.
Even if it's just 15 minutes before bed.
Yeah.
And it's about surrounding ourselves with people who value reading, who understand that it's not just a hobby, but a way of life.
A way of life that, as we've seen throughout this deep dive, has some pretty incredible benefits.
It does.
We've talked about the cognitive benefits, the emotional benefits, the social benefits.
We have.
But let's circle back to that question we posed earlier.
Okay.
What is the future of reading in a digital world?
It's the question that's top of mind for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the answer is multifaceted.
Yeah.
There's no denying the convenience of digital reading. Ebooks, audiobooks, online libraries, they've made books more accessible than ever before.
I mean, I love to be able to carry an entire library in my pocket. And audiobooks have been a game changer for me, especially when it comes to fitting reading into my busy schedule.
For sure.
But there's also a potential downside, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
The constant distractions.
Right.
The shorter attention spans.
Right.
The feeling that we need to consume information at lightning speed.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're losing the ability to slow down, to savor a sentence, to really immerse ourselves in a story.
I feel that sometimes.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like my brain is so used to skimming and scrolling that it's hard to shift gears into that deeper, more focused mode of reading.
Totally.
It's almost like I have to retrain myself to slow down and pay attention.
And that's a challenge we all face, I think. But it's a challenge worth tackling because, as we've seen, the rewards of reading are immense.
It's about finding that balance right.
It is.
Embracing the convenience of digital reading while also creating space for that deep, focused engagement that a physical book offers. Maybe it's about setting aside specific times for digital reading versus analog reading.
Right.
Or even creating a dedicated reading space free from distractions.
It's about being mindful of our reading habits and making conscious choices that support our love for books.
And it's about sharing that love with others.
Yes.
Inspiring the next generation of readers to embrace the power and the joy of books.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a challenge.
Ooh, a challenge. I'm all ears.
I challenge each of you listening to step outside of your reading comfort zone this week.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a challenge that embodies the spirit of exploration and discovery that we've been talking about throughout this whole episode.
It is.
Pick up a book in a genre you've never tried before.
Yeah.
Explore an author from a different culture. Tackle a challenging text that you've been putting off. It's about expanding your horizons, opening yourself up to new ideas and experiences. And who knows, you might just stumble upon your next favorite book.
Right.
Or even a new perspective that changes the way you see the world.
So, dear listeners, as we conclude this deep dive into the world of reading,
yes,
we encourage you to embrace the joy, the challenge, and the transformative power of books.
Read widely, read deeply, and read with an open mind and heart.
And remember, the journey of reading is an adventure that never ends.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it as enlightening and inspiring as we have.
Happy reading, everyone.